Um, Married to a black man, journalist Jacqueline Carvalho, 29, is another exception. I was never attracted to whites and I always dated black men, she comments. Like actor Eduardo Silva, she finds it difficult for blacks to maintain their roots as they rise up the social ladder because in college, whites are the majority. If black men prefer whites, that's the question. What happens if black men prefer whites? Many of them look for blondes, the maximum whiteness, to show them off as a trophy. I would say that marriage to this woman successfully crowns the trajectory of the black man. In contrast, black women use white husbands as trampolines. Now, when she says a black man looking for the maximum whiteness, it just reminds me of this controversial story that broke a couple years ago with this funk singer again named Nego Dubadel. You know, he was in a relationship with this very, very, very pale white woman. And it was just like every time you saw him, it just seemed like he was so just enamored with her, like he would just get down on the floor and just kiss her feet. You know, there was one post that people were tripping about. It was like, oh my God, I just love the blueness of your eyes. And he ended up going through some serious drama with because, you know, I'm not gonna say because of the girl, but uh her parents clearly didn't like the relationship. They claimed it wasn't because he was black, but this guy went through the ringer because of that relationship. He was accused of beating her. You know, the police invaded his house. You know, they confiscated his money. I mean, he went through a lot with that relationship, but it just always struck me just how pale this woman was. I mean, it's like, you know, in Brazil, you when you look at the white population in Brazil, even though you do have people who do have quite fair skin, a lot, if not the majority of white Brazilians still have, even if you would be by a tan or because they have some sort of mixture in their own family tree, they're just not as white as people you'll find in the United States or in Europe. I mean, that's my opinion. A lot of people have said that, like, you know, people in Brazil who think they're white oftentimes are not. But that's not to say there are plenty of people in Brazil who would be considered white wherever they go in the world, but there are quite a few who have mixing in their family and they're just not white like you would associate with people from, you know, United States or Europe. Anyway, continuing. Civil technologist Hailton Aparecido Carvalho, 31, after loving relationships with several women, opted for a black woman. In this case, the aforementioned Jacqueline. I thought she was the best for me, unconsciously, really not to be rejected. I am proud of my race, and if I had to go back in time, I would do it all over again. For Hailton, the blacks who choose blondes want to deny their origin. Pele, again, the world famous superstar soccer player, considered the greatest soccer players in the world. Pele is the ultimate example of this behavior, he comments, believing that this situation will only change in Brazil when black people become conscious, as in the United States. He concludes here. There, talking about the United States, famous black men are always accompanied by beautiful black women. It's something that I know that black Brazilians come to the United States. There was one particular woman on YouTube I remember. I can't remember her name, but you know, even though she was a little bit on the mixed side, she still was black and she considered herself black. But she came to the States and she was married to, I think, a white American. And she commented on what she saw in black communities in the United States. She was like, you know, it's different here. You know, black people, you know, they overwhelmingly marry each other, whereas, you know, we Brazilians, we just all mix. It was people really noticed that. And in social networks, I often find that in order to increase this desire for black people to go after black partners, they'll use famous black American couples and post them on their blogs or websites or in social networks to give people, hey, look, marrying somebody black is you know something that you should try to do. You know, how are we going to grow as a people if we continue to marry out and whiten our offspring? Uh, for years and even now, you just don't find a lot of famous black couples. The one that they really have features the top black Brazilian actor, top Brazilian actress, and they're a couple. They've been married for a number of years. We're talking about Lázaro Ramos and Thais Araújo. But besides them, you just don't have too many famous black couples because most black people, whether men or women, they marry across racial lines. Anyway, let me continue with this article. Also married to a black man, biologist Rosa Maria Tavares Andrade, 35 at the time, doesn't agree that men prefer white women. This myth came up because football or soccer players are in the video all the time with a blonde by his side. Maybe that's because blondes harass them more. Maybe blondes are more pushy in that way. According to her, this stigma doesn't exist in the context of ordinary people, as they would put the feeling in the foreground. This opinion, however, does not dismiss the complaint of black women. As discriminated against as he may be, black men have always been better off than women, says Rosa Maria. It's based on statistics that point to black women as the base of the pyramid at all levels. In this report, however, they didn't leave the top for a single moment. Women complain that black men prefer white women, even though they are cleaning ladies over black women with the same social cultural level. This, according to psychologist Silvio de Sousa. Again, this question of desire has no color. Sociologist Aurelio Eduardo do Nascimento believes that the marriage of successful black women or men to white partners is not a rule for those who ascend socially, but only a tendency. This is because, in his opinion, effective relationships, just meaning loving relationships, are not subject to ethnicity and therefore would not have a preconceived choice as a starting point. I believe that personal relationships are driven by emotion and escape from social culture, he says. Psychologist Salechi Duarte agrees and adds that complicity and intimacy are independent of race or creed. We are attracted by the similarities and differences, by opposites and complementaries, not specifically by black, Japanese, Arab, or white. In that sense, according to her, miscegenation would not be a conscious device. We cannot rule out the possibility that some people are so calculating as to do this with their lives, but Brazil is basically a mixed race country because of the physical and personal attraction of individuals who want this woman or that man, explains the psychologist. Nascimento also believes that the mixture of races so common in our country, being Brazil, is much more affected by emotions than by the so-called history, the historical strategy of whitening. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I don't know if I buy that argument completely. Anthropologist Darcy Ribeiro supports the same thesis, so much so that he always saw Brazil as the power of the future precisely because of ethnic diversity, the result of the mixture of the Indian with the European white and with the Africans. His ideas about the mulatto homeland can be seen in the treatise O Povo Brasileiro, or meaning the Brazilian people. It's a classic book in order to really understand, the roots of Brazil. Couple other things I will just point out here before I end this video. But earlier, somebody again pointed to the world famous soccer star Pelé as his relationships with various white women might have opened the floodgate for more black men desiring to, or seeing Pelé had a white woman being like, well, I can get one too. A lot of people point to Pelé's relationship with the children's TV host, one of the richest women in Brazil, Xuxa Meneghel, as the opening of this desire of black men feeling they can follow in his footsteps and marrying that blonde. It's something that you see everywhere. If you go to Brazil anytime soon, particularly Sao Paulo, Rio, places like that, just look around and see how many black couples you see, white, and then mixed couples. Come to your own conclusion. It was just something else here. When people believe, this guy is saying he believes that the mixture of races is much more affected by emotion than by so-called historical strategy of whitening. I don't know if I buy that too much. Because of the fact that so many people are able to tell their own stories online now, there's just been too many people who have confirmed, like, yeah, in our family, we were told that it's no use trying to marry another black person. It's like just one black person is enough. You have to whiten the family. As I've said, I've talked about my students when I taught English in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and they talk about how this is something that was in their families. People would literally say, "Nah, don't come home with a black partner." So, whereas I can see in a lot of relationships, white people might have something to gain if the black person is in a better social economic level than they are. Black people see it as a way up because they will be able to produce lighter skinned children. So I can't say that every single relationship um is just, a matter of love, for example, a matter of what did he say, is more affected by emotion. I mean, if you only pursue white men or white women, you're giving yourself only that choice to fall in love with that person. So this is an ongoing debate. I don't think there'll ever be a clear answer to it or a clear conclusion, even though there's been several books written about this topic. But, again, I'm going to discuss this more in the future because I feel like it's such a key to understanding uh, the situation of Black Brazilians today and historically. So with that, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna end this video here. And as always, if you like this, you learned something from the video, you like something, there was something here that made you go, tell me what you thought. Put it in the comment section. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Click on that notification bell. Share these videos. The only way I'm going to be able to grow with this channel is if other people also like the video. So with that said, I'm going to end this here, and I hope to catch you all in the next video.